Hey there everybody, Sage Popham here, founder of the School of Evolutionary Herbalism and Organic Unity. And today is a very exciting day in the Organic Unity Lab because we have fresh Osha root. And I love working with Osha. This is one of the first plants that I really had a deep connection with and have used a lot over the last decade of being an herbalist. And this particular species that we have here is Ligusticum grayi. This is our local Cascadia region Osha that is essentially used similarly to the more standard Osha used in herbal commerce, which is the Ligusticum porteri. Now, we prefer to work with Ligusticum grayi for a couple different reasons. One, the Rocky Mountain Osha is at risk ecologically. It's been over harvested. The roots take a very long time to grow, and so we like to work with this one in order to preserve the porteri species so it can continue to thrive and flourish in its natural environment. Some studies have also shown that this particular species of Osha has a broader spectrum of biochemically active constituents, which is really cool. And also, we just prefer to work with our local Cascadia region plants as much as possible. And this Osha is a really wonderful example of that. Now, the way most herbalists think of using Osha is as a respiratory herb. And in that regard, many people use it for any manner of respiratory tract infections, laryngitis, bronchitis, pharyngitis, even pneumonia, really strong, deeper set infections of the lungs. And it's great in that regard. But what a lot of people forget to do is, or what they overlook about Osha, is the energetics of the herb. And this is one thing that a lot of herbalists tend to overlook, is the influence that a plant has upon the specific state of the tissues. And for any of you that have seen or personally dealt with a respiratory tract condition, you know that there's many different kinds of cough, right? That we've got the really wet, boggy, damp, cold kind of cough, and you've got the really dry, hot, irritated, sensitive kind of cough, and all points in between. And upon tasting Osha, one of the first things that you notice is that this is a very pungent, resinous, aromatic plant. It has a broad spectrum of very strong essential oils and resins in the roots here, and those constituents have a warming, stimulant expectorant action. And I think it's very important that we further subclassify our expectorants. If you look in any herb book and you go to expectorants, you'll usually get this big laundry list of herbs, and you'll see Osha and Lamatium and elecampane and plantain and pleurisy root and licorice and marshmallow and Irish moss and coltsfoot and mullein and all these different herbs lumped into this one category of expectorant. And most people think, oh, if I need an expectorant, just pick an herb out of the list and it should work, right? But sometimes it doesn't work. And if we just mentioning those herbs, like having licorice and marshmallow and Irish moss in the same list as elecampane, Lamatium, and Osha doesn't really serve us that well because they're very different, right? And they're used for a very different type of respiratory condition. So this differentiation in terms of understanding your herbs in more depth is super important so that you can know how to use them holistically and match the plant to the person so it's going to benefit them in the best way. So in that regard, Osha is really best used for a very cold, wet, boggy, mucusy, kind of heavy cough. You oftentimes see paleness of the skin, coldness in the extremities, poor circulation, and kind of a weak cough reflex where, you know, there's a lot of mucus and what the physiomedicalists would call damp stagnation in the respiratory tract. And what happens is that all the resins and all the oils present in Osha, you ingest those and breathe them in, and those oils kind of penetrate all of that mucus and help to break it apart and disperse it, lift it up away from the mucous membrane so it can be expectorated. and actually it's kind of irritating, right? I mean, it's kind of designed to irritate the lungs a little bit so that your cough can be more productive. And in that regard, through clearing the mucous membrane, you're allowing all that stuck mucus to move, so that then there's space for the mucous membrane to lay down a fresh layer of immune-rich mucus, which is very important for the health of the respiratory system. Now, a lot of herbalists would also say that Osha is an antiseptic remedy. It has antibacterial, antiviral properties, which it does, but an important consideration is, you know, that kind of way of thinking is very allopathic, right? That thinking of an herb like an antibiotic. And I think what's more important is not to think of an herb like an antibiotic, but to think of an herb holistically. Think of how an herb is actually changing the state of our physiology, changing the state of our tissues. And when you have that kind of damp stagnation tissue state, or what in Ayurveda they would say is an excess of kapha in the lungs, that creates an environment that's much more prone to infection. So yes, Osha does have some antiviral, antimicrobial properties, but more importantly, it's actually changing the ecological state of the tissues so that those microbial pathogens and such can't set up shop, right? They can't live in that kind of environment. And I believe that this ecological model of herbal medicine is a much more holistic approach to understanding and to using our remedies. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that this remedy is also called bear root. It's classified as a bear medicine. And one of the reasons, the signatures of that, if you look at the root crowns here, you see it's got these hairs coming up here, and they say that's kind of like the hair of the bear. And you know, the bear, they say, is like the herbalist of the animal kingdom. Bears are said to use, I think, somewhere up in the range of 40 different medicinal plants, and Osha is one of their primary remedies. That when they come out of hibernation, they'll come out, dig the Osha roots and eat the Osha. And you know, that's the bitterness is going to help stimulate digestion. The pungent qualities is going to help warm up their system, stimulate their metabolism, circulate their blood, and kind of get them ready to come out of that hibernation place. And that's one of the ways that I really think of Osha, kind of in more of this spiritual way, is like when we're in our own hibernation, whether that's physically or kind of mentally, emotionally, we're kind of draw back within that cave inside of ourselves, right? And we go through these periods of our lives when we're engaged in self-reflection, when we're really focused on our prayer and focused on connecting to ourself, connecting to nature, connecting to life and to God and to creation. But eventually we have to come out of the cave, right? That we can't just stay on the mountaintop forever, and we have to kind of descend the mountain and go back into the world. And I believe Osha is one of those remedies that kind of helps with that transition, helping us to come out of ourselves and kind of move out into the world, to come down off of the mountaintop and back into the world, and to find that that contribution, that healing, that medicine, that gift that we carry inside of ourselves, and having the strength and the courage and the ability to share that out in the world, to make a positive difference, to do something good for the world and for the earth. So really excited to have Osha in my life today. I'd be curious to hear about how you've used Osha, if you've worked with this remedy very much. You know, scroll down, leave me a comment below, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or on our blog. Scroll down, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. And also, if you don't know yet already, we just opened up registration for our free Evolutionary Herbalism mini course. This is an in-depth 3-video series where I'm teaching the underlying philosophy behind true holistic herbalism. So head on over to our blog, plug your name and email, and sign up for the free course. It's only open for the next week, so be sure to check that out. And thanks so much for checking out this video, and I'll see you around. Take care and be well.